what's up? I'm about to hit some mixed notes for this super sick prog rock heavy shreddy band called The View From Here, but I wanted to show you guys something that I throw on every mix when I get towards the end of the mix that really makes it sound finished and slamming, and also helps parts transition from part to part to make it sound freaking finished. Let me show you the part first, and then I'm gonna show you what I do. It sounds really good. The drums were recorded in a really big room and they didn't close them like the cymbals. I wish they did, but they didn't. So they feel a little bit washy when they come into each part. They don't hit the same way that I feel like they should. There's already impacts and there's already explosions and there's already sort of automation going on. But if you check out this exit of the chorus, it kind of just stays the same level. Same thing. The breakdown smacks a little bit harder because there's some pauses going on, but I still think that it can slam a little bit harder, especially since those cymbals are way washed out and way back. So first thing, I'm going to go to the drum bus and I'm going to automate the actual volume of the drum bus on the actual drop of this part, pretty significant amount, so that the first hit kind of pumps out of the speakers a little bit more. So I bumped that up 3 dB. Cool, and then the same thing for the next breakdown. So now the kick should hit a little bit harder, but also what I'm going to do is go into the actual kick. I'm going to push my kick sample a little bit harder when those parts hit. Maybe actually those first kicks, gung, 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 those can all be a little bit louder, pumping into the drum bus. There we go, that feels good. And then check out the breakdown. Most definitely needs a smack there. And then also I'm gonna pump up the overheads. Looks like I already automated the China to go up at that part, but I still think the crash can hit a little harder. And you hear how roomy this room is? So I wonder if they were running it through even a little bit of compression on the overheads rather than keeping it clean. Me personally, if I was recording it, then I would probably keep it a little bit more dry and close like the cymbals, because they also have these far overheads over here that are going on as well. That definitely helps smack, so let's check it out. There you go. Now the drum bus is smacking. So from part to part, there's a clear definition of when that part starts, and it's not this constant straight thing going the whole time. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the actual master bus and do the same thing on each part. But there's one thing that you can do to make sure that it has more impact. The only way to make things slam harder when they're already kind of maxed out is to make other parts quieter. So what I'm going to do is drop the volume right before the impact drop of the chorus and then have it frickin' slam. So there's that, and then I'm just going to copy that setting over. And this is on the master bus, keep in mind. So this is affecting literally everything. And let's check out the next one. Now you got me riding off the right track. Sick. Feels a lot better. Now this is a plugin that I throw on to every mix that's like sort of a rock mix that needs to sound polished. It's just mix centric. To me, it just like opens up the mix, brings out some highs, brings out some lows, kind of scoops the mix a little bit and gives it some polish and shine. So what I'm thinking, I do this on occasion, is I'll go here and I'll add the intensity, which is just the level of it, to a plugin automation, and then I'll open it up here, and then when it hits, what I can do is sort of boost it up so that when it smacks, it becomes a different world and a different part. So if I play it, you'll see this knob. So you hear that bop-a-ding. What I'm going to do is automate that down and then have it explode back up into the breakdown, all the way to 0. And then, because every part of the song is kind of slamming and big, so it's not like this part is taking priority over the other parts, but it does need to sound different than the part before it. Because otherwise it would be like verses are here, choruses are here, breakdowns here, and then it would have to go back to the verse, so it would drop dramatically to there. So I'm gonna leave this one back to where the chorus was landing, which is at about, what was that? Sitting at 14.5, but what I can do is just automate the first little section of the breakdown to really smack harder than the previous part, and then bring it back down, slowly, gradually bringing it back to the baseline of that 14.5. So check it out. It almost kind of matches that guitar slide going at the same point. And then, so the same thing on the exit of the chorus, we can probably drop this down so that it has a slight drop before it hits. The only way to make something hit harder is to make the thing before it a little bit smaller. Now you got me on the run, got me on the run. After this, I would just do a safeguard and check the chorus to make sure that the relative part here feels just as big as the other part. So here's this part. Definitely a little more bright, and then the chorus. It feels good because the vocals are kind of up front, taking up that sort of shiny space, but I do think we can automate even just God particle here, push a little bit harder so that when the chorus comes in, it's still just as shiny, but maybe just in a different way. Now you got me on the run, got me on the run. I'm cutting you out. Just play whatever you have. Exactly. So then at this point, I would just go throughout the mix and do that across all the choruses, all the breakdowns, all the verses, maybe drop things a little bit lower. And that way the mix, as you're listening through it, it's not this stagnant, good mix, but stagnant thing slamming all the way through. You want to have dynamics, and when you go through and you have to control this crazy live mix of shredding guitars and overly roomy drums, clamp them down and then bring back dynamics another way, especially if you're going for this modern rock style mix. Because if your relative mix is this big in the grand scheme of things, and this bombastic mix is this big, the relative explosion in a mix this big should still feel the same as a mix this big, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly go through that one little tip that I had that I think a lot of people miss, and it's really just automating. And it's really just automating your overall buses to make sure that they're dynamic and they flow with the feel of the song. All right, so that's gonna be it for this video. If you wanna see me finish out the song and do the rest of the automation while I work, I'll put it up for free on my Patreon. It's gonna be linked down in the description. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you next time.